They had it at the body shop and had a little bit of work done on the rear bumper that was cosmetic, and then when his wife picked it up, she said it was misfire and it was running rough and this kind of thing, and so he called me and said, "Want me to have a look at it?" Well, he drove it over here today, and it would misfire, and then it wouldn't misfire, and misfire, and it wouldn't misfire. It's got about 100,000 miles on it. Plugs are supposed to be changed on one of these at 120K, and so what we did was we went ahead and pulled the code, got a PO351, which for a primary fault on the A coil, and so we went ahead and this coil here was the A coil. Couldn't really see much of anything wrong with it. It's the original Toyota Denso. So we got another brand of coil from the parts store, and we put it in there, and the engine seems to be running just fine. And I said, I think I'll get my handy little General Technologies GTC 505, and I figured I'd do a little instruction here and say, this is what it's supposed to look like. So what we did here, with this thing booted up, we put it on 4-stroke cycle because it's not waste spark and it's not 2-stroke. And we got these modes we can look at. We're basically going to start out looking at voltage. It's pretty important there. And you can also view it in any of these ways. So let's just start out with the waveform, and we'll see what we see here. When we put this thing on, we got to be able to see the screen, and we got to be able to see the, all right, we're seeing that really doesn't raise eyebrows till you go over here and you see those are all lower. Okay, now that's a pretty significant difference right there. So let's just change that and let's put it in digital. Okay, let's put it in digital, and right here we're looking at 80,000 volts on that coil there, and on this one we're looking at 20, 25. That one we're looking at about 20. That one there we're looking at about 20. Remember, this is the new one we just put on here. These are the other ones that were the originals. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to move it to the chart where we can compare it. You can see it's already stored that data, but we put that right there, and you see it coming way up there. Now we move it to that next one, and we can look at the level on the chart, the little picture is drawing, and this one here. And then we're looking at that one there. Now I really like this little device because it doesn't take but a second to check all 4 cylinders. You don't have to back probe anything. You don't have to have an attenuator or anything like that. All right, the next thing I want to look at, let's look at burn time, and we're going to view it as a waveform. Okay, so I'm going to put that right there, and look how messed up burn time is. Now right here, this is the firing line on the left side over. It gives you your kilovolts. Burn time is laid out across the bottom of the screen in milliseconds. All right, you see that? Your burn time's longer on the other ones than it is on that one. See that? On every one of them. So let's go to digital, and let's see what the burn time actually is. We're looking at less than 1 millisecond burn time. Over here, we're looking at 1.5 on the average. Over there, we're looking at about 1.5. Over there, we're looking at about 1.5. Okay, that's the deal. What the thing about it is, if you look at your voltage, let's go to voltage here. We view voltage. Now we're seeing that all that really high voltage. And if we look at your waveform of that, what goes this way doesn't go that way. So whatever's going that way is your burn time. This is when it first jumps the spark, and this is how long it burns. Now you can see right there, you actually got a little bit of burn time. And there's not a lot of resolution this way on this thing as far as that little spark line right there. Spark line is right here. Firing line is here. If your firing line is tall, your spark line is going to be short. What the deal is, I don't really trust this coil, so I'm not going to leave it on here. I'm going to pull this coil back out, and we're going to check another brand, and we're going to see what we see. And so we'll update this in a minute when we get our other coil put in there. All right, something else I failed to mention on the first part of the video was that we put a brand new set of Nippon Denso iridium spark plugs in it. And so that it's not like we've got a spark plug issue that we're overlooking or anything. Okay, that's good. All right, we actually replaced we put the old coil back on it while we're waiting for them to bring that other brand. And this particular one, as you can see, what we're doing, once again, we're on 4-stroke cycle, and we're going to view the waveform and voltage. Okay. All right, so we got that one. You see the difference. You can actually see a clearly defined spark line. It's nice and long. We'll move it to the number 2. Now we're going to move it to number 3. Now we're going to move it to number 4. They're all just alike. All right, if we change that to chart. Once again, it's already stored the data. We got that. It's looking really good. You can see that's a lot different from what we saw before. All right, so now let's go ahead and change the mode to burn time. And we're going to change the view to, let's go ahead and, I'll tell you what, let's go back to, I messed up on that. Let's go back to voltage. And let's view digital. All right, so you notice we got about 20,000. We got about 20,000. Not 20,000. We got 20,000. All right, now the thing that I wanted to say about this is if you just go and buy the part and you pop it on there right quick and you drive the car away without being able to check anything beyond that, then you're probably going to be unpleasantly surprised. Now I will tell you that the brand that I'm concerned with here, we did have a Chrysler Crossfire one time that was, when it got heated up, it would quit going down the road, lose spark, and then you let it sit a little while and it would fire up. And we bought this same brand of crank sensor for that Chrysler Crossfire. It's about $100. And well, what we noticed about our original crank sensor to begin with is you could heat it up with a heat gun while you were measuring the resistance of it, and it would open up. But whenever it was cool and it was measuring like it was supposed to when it was working right, it measured about 1,050 ohms. So what we did was we measured the resistance of this brand that we bought, and it was 1,350 ohms. When we put that in the Chrysler Crossfire, it might start and it might not. So I said, bring me another one of these. So they brought me another one of the same brand, and I put it in there, and it was basically reading 1,350 ohms, same deal. So what we did was, I went ahead and got the Bosch sensor, like what was supposed to go on there, and it was reading about 1,050 ohms, and we put it in there, and she's still good to go. So you got to kind of be careful about how all of this is taking place. Now the brand I'm talking about, I don't have an axe to grind. All I'm doing, and usually I'll go ahead and use these parts. This is the brand that we're having trouble with. And I've got nothing against these people. Like I say, sometimes they use their parts, but trust but verify. That's what we're basically doing here. We're checking this thing with a reliable tool. Incidentally, this tool here is a GTC 505, General Technologies Corporation. And you can buy these, and they don't cost all that much. But I'm really sold on this thing. I've had it for a while now. This is the time whenever I've used it when it, I believe, kept us from having some, trouble with a repeat repair. And so we're going to check that other brand of part when they finally get here with it, and we'll see what we come up with that.
It's recorded.
Okay, since then, what we found out, since I made that other video a few minutes ago, the parts house manager did some research, and he did say that if the car was an American-made Camry, it takes a different coil than a Japanese-made Camry, and that he's thinking that this one here could have been box strong, and we could have put a Japanese-made coil on an American-made car. That really doesn't make any sense to me, that a Japanese-made coil would fire with 80,000 volts on an American car. I guess anything's possible. I'm trying to parse that in my mind. But he's sending another one that he knows for sure is for a US-built Camry. And so that's where the jury is right now. Okay, what we have, we've already got the second one he sent was a different brand, but he said it was for sure for an American-made. I got my engine ignition analyzer set up again. I got it on. It's got it on the voltage, and I've got it on waveform. Okay, so what we're seeing right now, you see a really good firing line. It's about the right height. You see a nice little spark line. It's just kind of difficult. The definition's not that great on the spark line because of it. That one right there, see, those are a little crisper as far as that spark line. This one here is okay though. I'm not unhappy with it. Let's go ahead and view our digital. And we're going to look at about 20,000 volts there. We're looking at about 20,000 volts across the board. All of these are pretty much the same. Now one of the things I didn't show earlier, but it didn't show much of anything, was burn time. Ramp time. You know, we didn't really see a whole lot on that before, to tell you the truth. And the ramp time looks pretty good all the way across the board on those. So the cool thing about this little tool here is that it'll analyze the ignition in 16 different ways. So you got 4 different measurements, and you got 4 different ways of looking at it. And I mean, well, if you do the math, I got that 16 wrong, but the long and the short of it is, you got a heck of a lot of different ways you can look at it. That's the point. And I'd say 16 because you got 4 with each one, so yeah, that would be 16. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, we're gonna let him hold it with this one on there. We're gonna put a cover back on it. We're going to see how he likes that. The cost on these 2 units was about the same, just under $50. So I think we're probably going to be okay now. And I just wanted to share this since I had all of that.